back to another Outside the Box Reviews Giant Monster Monday. And today we're taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Monsterarts Mothra and Battra Larvae set. This set I believe was a web exclusive in Japan, but thanks to Bluefin, the US distributor of these figures, they kind of became a general release here in the States. And after that excellent SH Monsterarts adult Mothra came out and the Battra, which I'm sure is great and I still need to get my hands on, I knew that these had to worm their way into my collection because they looked really freaking cool. Now, in case you don't know, these are based on the 1992 movie Godzilla vs. Mothra. I think most people are at least aware of Mothra, and Battra was kind of created to be almost an anti-Mothra, a dark Mothra. So let's jump right in and take a look at these figures. Taking a look first off at the Battra figure, this thing is beautiful. It is so nicely sculpted, which you would expect from the SH Monsterarts line, but there is so much detail going through this thing, and it's actually fairly large. It is in the movie as well, but it really surprised me the scale they got on him. Up here at the top of his head, he has his horn, which is a nice translucent yellow. The translucence kind of comes down to the frills on the side of his head here and gives a really cool effect. The rest of it is painted in just solid yellow. There's a dark gray kind of base to everything. His eyes, he has a great compound eye that is a nice shiny plastic and kind of looks like it picks up the light. Here on the front of the face, we have his jaws sticking out, and those are actually movable, so we can actually open those up. No real paint detail inside the mouth, but hey, it opens. He's got his tusks coming out the side with the red kind of stripe of spikes going down the center row. Very spiky up here at the top of the head. Kind of thins out in texture towards the bottom, becomes a little smoother. He's got so many legs everywhere. The legs on this upper part of his torso come down to these very large ones down here. He's got primary legs and the ones going down the side. It's great texture and detail on him. I really like how the paint isn't solid through it. It kind of looks broken up. Like, it is kind of like the exoskeleton pattern and not just perfectly painted lines. Coming around to the bottom, you can see all this sculpted kind of wrinkly detail on the underside. It's very nice looking. And then here at the back, we have his three-pronged tail, which is very bony, kind of just very organic looking and really nicely done. I really just love the detail on this figure. For articulation, this guy has quite a bit. I already mentioned that the jaws will hinge open, but all of these little spikes around the mouth are on ball joints, so these will all kind of rotate around. You can pose them, which is nice because when you open up the mouth, you kind of spread them out there and give it this more angry look, and then when you close the mouth up, you can kind of pull them all tighter in so they're very close to the jaw. I think it's a nice effect. These big tusks are also on ball joints, so they'll move around just a little bit. Now, I must admit, these don't seem as necessary as the small ones. The small ones even I don't think are completely necessary, but the tusks, you really can't do enough with them to make it seem worth it. Down here, all these arms are stationary, but you get the movable one here on either side, the upper joint here, and these big legs have a ball joint at the body and also a ball joint right before the claw, so you get 2 points of articulation on each one of these legs here. And those are the only legs, those four right there, that are actually articulated. Then all through the body, there is a ton of segments where you can actually bend and swivel and move around, all ball jointed. One of the very cool features with the joints on here is this little panel back here. There's a separate panel that when he's looking up, as I have him now, it's down here. But then if you go and make Battra look down, that panel raises up and you can slide it in between the scales on his back and create a more seamless look. There's no big gap or anything going on here, which I really love that bit of articulation. It's very nicely engineered. But we have this joint kind of up in the head, one a little lower still, and then all these segments coming down through the body are articulated. Every last segment here is its own articulated bit. And then of course the tail is also on a ball joint. So kind of simple because there are no limbs that require super complicated things. It's all just simple ball joints, but a very effective means of doing this figure. Now, Mothra actually comes with a couple accessories. We get a little display stand here. Comes in two parts. There's the stand itself and the base. But you just peg those together. Very simple, clear piece. And we can see here we have this kind of textured little base. That will fit between these front legs up here on Mothra. It'll sit right there. And then you can get Mothra in that kind of iconic rearing up position. Of course, you know, if you pose it a little better, it looks much better than I have it there. And the other accessory is some webbing that Mothra is shooting out some silk. And it's very nicely done. It's a nice clear plastic with some white dry brushing on it to kind of make it look more textured. The shape at the end here I think is kind of weird. It's very angular and it doesn't really look right to me no matter which way you put it. If you have it facing upwards or if you have it facing downwards, it just kind of looks sharp. It looks like an axe rather than an organic spray, but I really don't know what shape you would go with. But it does taper off back towards the end here. And then you can open up Mothra's jaw. There's a little peg hole inside there that this will peg right into. And you can have your Mothra spraying webbing, which is a pretty neat effect. As for Mothra itself, I think one of the best things about this figure is that while Mothra is definitely different between the different series in the Godzilla movies, the fact that this is a Heisei version, it can still kind of fit in with your Millennium figures or your Showa era figures. It's a basic enough design that you can kind of fudge it. So you could actually probably put this with that 64 Godzilla, even though I believe the eyes are the wrong color. I forget if the first movie was red or blue eyes, but this one has the blue eyes. Or you can put it with the upcoming Tokyo SOS Mechagodzilla. But very cool looking sculpt with the head here, very iconically Mothra. The eyes are very sunken in, but the eyes are a nice metallic blue, so they shine in the light, which is very nice. I love the brown paint on here. It's very light brown on top of this darker brown with the plastic. Kind of brings out all the details going on. Of course, I have the mouth up front, the kind of beak, little pincers on the side. Down the bottom, we have the little feet, little suction cups going on in the grayish brown plastic. And then we have just a very wormy body going on, and then the little tail tip with the 3 prongs on it. Really, I think where this figure excels is the articulation. I already mentioned that the jaw will open, which is pretty nice. I think it opens a little too far if you just go all the way with it, so I've been kind of closing it in just a bit so that's not as extreme. These little pincers on the side are also on ball joints, so you can move those around a bit. And then is ball jointed all the way through, so you could bend it however you need it. But just like the SH Figuarts figures, you could actually pull this figure and kind of expand out some of those joints and get an even larger range of motion out of it, which I think is very nice, very impressive touch. But it's all just ball joints, so it gives you a great freedom of movement. You could get it in a lot of different poses. If you had a flight stand, you could probably have it in that, oh my gosh, I just got hit by something look, where it's flying up in the air. Of course, the stand's there to help you do the rearing up look. You can just bend it whatever way you want. And the ball joints are solid enough that if you put the tail up, it kind of stays. So overall, I really, really like this 2-pack. I think Monsterarts did a fantastic job executing this with 2 figures that I know a lot of Godzilla collectors are going to be happy to own. The Mothra, I think, is an essential figure. To me, Mothra Larva is so iconic, especially growing up with the Showa era films, and Mothra was in larva form through most of those, so to me it's very fitting to have that as a figure in my collection, even if it is the Heisei version and not the Showa, but like I said, differences are pretty minimal. And then the Battra, while a figure I wanted less, is so beautifully done that you can't deny that it's a great piece. Just very well painted, very well sculpted, wonderfully articulated. Both of these wonderfully articulated for as simple as they are. And getting this Battra Larva definitely makes me want to go and get that flying Battra form sooner rather than later. These things are awesome. I haven't done a Giant Monster Monday in so long. I'm trying to remember what my recommend is. I think it's cult classic status. It definitely gets that highest recommend. These things are just awesome. So happy to have them. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews, Giant Monster Monday. Stay tuned for more to come.